Now today we'll be looking at the multiplication by multiples of 100 and 1000. If you are in grade 5, this very video is for you, and this is one of the lessons you do in your first term section in school. When you were in grade 3 or 4, you were taught multiples, and probably you were only taught multiples of 10. What do we mean by multiples of 10? Now let's look at 10 as a number. What are the multiples of 10? The multiples of 10 are those numbers you get when you multiply 10 with numbers from 1 to what? To infinity. Now how do we know that? We have what? 10 times what? 1 equal to what? 10. 10 times what? 2 equal to what? 20. 10 times what? 3 equal to what? 30. So 10, 20, 30 and continuously are what? Are multiples of what? They are multiples of what? 10. So you see that is exactly how we are going to find the multiples of what? 100. Multiples of 100 are when you have 100 times what? 1, 100 times 2, 100 times what? 3, 100 times what? 4, and on and on. So this will give you 100. This will give you 200, this will give you 300, this will give you what? 400, and all and all. All these are multiples of what? 100. The same thing goes with what? Multiples of what? 1000, and that will be what? 1000, 2000, 3000, 4000, and on and what? On. So in today's lesson, we are going to teach you how to multiply numbers by what? By the multiples of 10 and 100 and what? And 1000. So now I want you to note something. When your teacher asks you to multiply numbers by their multiples, all you need to do is to take note of the factors of that number which you will derive from the multiples, and when you find that factor, you multiply, you increase the multiplicand with the number of zeros, and after that you now multiply the resulting value by the other factor of the multiple. Now what do I mean by this? You might not understand what I mean by that, but when we take an example, then you will understand better. Now how do we do that? Now let's look at one good example. We're going to look at sample number 1. Pay attention as we take note of this sample. I'm going to show you when we did the first step I asked you to do. Now in sample number 1, we are asked to do what? Multiply what? 3. You're asked to multiply 3, 5, 4 by what? By 300. Now remember, 300 is a multiple of what? 100. Good. Now if we want to multiply that value, we'll have our 3, 5 what? 4. Now 300 has what? 2 factors. What are the factors? We have 100 times what? Times 3 will give us what? 300. So you see now, the first step I told you about that I was explaining then says you should add this number of zeros to the value that you are multiplying, that is this. And once you add this number of zeros, the result you get, you multiply the result by what? By 3. You see how easy it will be. Now let's do that. So that means our 354 will be what? If we multiply it by 100, we'll just increase the what? The 0, 2 zeros. The first step says you should add the zeros. If it is hundreds, it's 2 zeros. If it is 1000, it is 3 zeros. Add it to the multiplicand. This is the what? This is the multiplicand. add it to the multiplicand, and then multiply your result by what? By the other factor. That is step 2. So we are going to multiply our result by what? By 3. Now when we multiply our result by 3, what are we going to have? 3 times 0 will give us what? 0. 3 times 0 will give us what? 0. 3 times 4 will give us 12. We'll carry it right to put in 1. 3 times 5 will give us what? 15 plus 1, that's 16. Good. Now 3 times 3 will give us 9, right? Plus that 1 we took over, that will give us what? 10. So you see, very, very easy. Now when other of your colleagues go about multiplying this by this, it gives them a long value. But if you can use this method, very easy, you get your result. So finally we can say 354 multiplied by what? 300 will be equal to 10,620 what? 0. Very easy. Now with the second sample, I'm going to show you how you can also go about doing this. The second sample is going to be a sample on the multiples of 1000. Now let's look at sample 2. Now in that sample 2, you are requested to do what? To multiply 124 multiplied by what? By 4000. I guess you can do this, but follow up this example. When we finish doing this, then you can see the description section. You see a link that will lead you to a worksheet where you can download our worksheet and do a lot of questions you feel like doing there. Now let's look at this. Remember I told you, bring out 4000. 4000 has 2 what? Factors, and that is what? 1000 times what? Times 4. Very good. Now you know what you do. Now you have your 124. Take these 3 zeros and put here. That is all. And then multiply that value you get by the what? By the other factors. These are 2 factors of what? The 2 factors of what? The 2 factors of 4000s. So you see how easy it is. Now let's multiply this value. That will give us what? 4 times 0 will give us what? 0. 4 times 0 will give us 0. 4 times 0 will give us 0. 4 times 4 will give us 16. 4, you write 6, you carry 1. 4 times 2 will give us 8, plus 1 will give us 9. 4 times 1 will give us what? 4. So you see that your result will give you 496 what? 496,000. So you see how easy it is to multiply values when giving the multiplication, when giving multiples of what? 10 and what? 100 and what? And 1000. Now I'm going to show you a third question, a third sample. Now this third sample is going to be more like a puzzle, and you will be asked to find a given value. You want to know what it is? Let's look at sample 3. Asked to find the missing factor in 40 times missing equal to what? 8,000. Now what do we do when you are given a question like this? The first thing you should do is to identify a missing value. So let's say our missing value, let the missing value be what? Be y. Most of the time they use y and what? Y and x. So that will now give us what? Our 40 times y equal to what? 8,000. Now you see, now for us to get the value of y, because this is what? Multiplication, we have to divide both sides by what? Divide both sides by 40. Now whenever, take note, whenever multiplication is holding 2 numbers, you have to destroy those 2 numbers by dividing both sides by a given value. Now when it is addition, you have to take the other one over to this place to make it what? Minus. When it is addition or subtraction. But when it is division, then you have to do what? You have to invert the other side and then cross what? Multiply. As time goes on, you start taking questions like this, you understand what I mean by that. Now let's go back to what we are doing. Now we have 40 times y equals to what? 800. What we'll do is what? We'll divide both sides by what? By 40. Once you divide both sides by 40, because we have multiplication here, we'll have our 40 times y divided by 40 equal to what? 8,000 divided by what? 40. So you see, this 40 can now cut this 40. That is why we are dividing it by 40, so that 40 can cut 40, and then we'll have only what? Only y remaining in this side of the equation. Now this will go with this. 4 here will give you 1, 4 here will give us what? 2. So our y will now be what? 200. So you see, very easy. Multiplication of by multiples of 100 and 1000 is very easy, and from the 3 samples we've taken today, you've come to see that it is possible that you can do it. Click the link in the description section to download a worksheet for yourself, and make sure you do those questions that are given to you in that worksheet. In our next video, we are going to see how to multiply whole numbers by 2 digits of numbers. Don't miss that video lessons. If you have not subscribed, I want you to hit the subscribe button now, so that you'll be part of those who will get this video once they are produced. I look forward to seeing you in our next class. Be a good pupil and be the best you can. Thanks for watching.